Opened for gold mining by the 1850s and transitioning to copper by 1900, the Mammoth Mine grew to 9 primary entrances, contained ore bodies up to 110 feet thick, and had an ore train at the 470-foot level that traveled 5 miles underground. Buildings at the mine included the mine office, compressor room, blacksmith shop, and tram terminal. Employees could also use the bunkhouse, boarding house, post office, and social hall. Once the ore was extracted, copper precipitation tanks were used to remove commercially worthless material before shipping it to the smelter for processing. This process produced tailings that were simply dumped outside the mine. From 1905 to 1925, 3.3 million tons of ore were removed from the Mammoth Mine. The ore contained 3.99% copper, 4.2% zinc, 2.24 ounces of silver per ton, and 0.038 ounces of gold per ton. Injuries from cave-ins and blasting accidents, as well as occupational diseases, were commonplace for mine workers. The introduction of the pneumatic hammer drill in 1897 increased the number of cases of white lung disease, or silicosis. The Mammoth mining operations were considered progressive in both training of rescue teams and providing medical care at the hospital in Kennett. In 1905, the Mammoth Copper Company built a smelter at Kennett to process ore from several mines, including the Mammoth Mine. Reportedly the largest ore smelter on the west coast when it opened. The smelter's smokestacks were 12 feet in diameter and 150 feet high, and its 5 blast furnaces had an output capacity of 1,000 tons per day. Using limestone from the Holton Gregg limestone quarry and kilns as flux, smelter operations produced copper matte, transferred the matte to a converter furnace, and then blew enriched oxygen into the matte to create blister copper. This 98.5% to 99.5% pure copper in ingot form was then transported by railroad to other locations for the final refining process. For every ton of copper produced, the Mammoth smelter generated 2.2 tons of slag containing iron, alumina, calcium oxide, and silica. Workers dumped the slag as ingots, diluted it with water to form granules, or poured it in molten form into the canyon at Backbone Creek, creating future environmental problems. The smelter also released vast amounts of toxic smoke into the air, which killed vegetation for miles around. Faced with lawsuits and subsequent court orders to limit the pollution, the company installed a baghouse to filter the fumes and reduce copper sulfide and particle emissions. While the baghouse allowed the smelter to continue operating, it was ultimately unable to meet the required standard, and lawsuits were renewed. The mine and smelter together employed 2,300 workers of over 20 different nationalities. decreased demand for copper following World War I, a corresponding drop in prices, and the aforementioned legal complications closed the smelter in 1919. Most of the workers then moved away, looking for new jobs. Ore production from the Mammoth Mine continued on a smaller scale, and the Mammoth Smelter did open periodically until it was dismantled by 1925.